Was a singer and actor for 20 years and made my living that way in New York, but I felt the firmament under my feet crumbling. I knew the industry was changing. They were starting to use pre-dubbed voices for the stars in the show. Often they were using the original cast, pre-dubbed chorus, playing under a cast 10 years later, and it was a little disenchanting for me, and I got a chance to do a movie with Mike Nichols. He wanted me to go around the world and find drag queens for him to make Birdcage. So I'd never even held a camera, and I went to 5 countries and found drag queens and asked people where they were and interviewed them. And I thought, oh, I remember standing on a bar stool in London shooting Marilyn Monroe impersonators, and I thought, I'm not bad at this. I don't know whoever wants to hire anyone to do this, but lo and behold, I ended up getting a gig at PBS as one of the producers of a show called City Arts that won over 40 Emmy Awards, and then I started doing A&E biography. But I kept wondering, that was that nagging thing. I grew up in Indiana, this kid dying to get to New York and do the kind of things Bobby Morse had done, you know? And I thought, did I just miss it? You know, or was it just something in those old movies I watched as a kid? So I thought, now that I'm working, you know, as a producer in television and documentaries, I thought I'm going to start asking these stars that I talk to. So I would sit at their knee and ask them, and I was going to do a 6-minute piece for our TV show. And little did I know what I got into. It was 6 years and 5 countries later. I thought I was just doing a demo to raise money, and lo and behold, I ended up shooting and directing and writing and editing the whole thing myself the first time. And the funny thing is, if you've seen the first film, it ends with me saying, is it a golden age now? That's not for me to say. There's some young kid in Indiana or someplace downloading shows on the internet, and that's his movie to make in 10 years. But that kid never materialized. So I found it was kind of my obligation, because nobody is archiving this. No one's doing it. And when you know that this is all disappearing, when Gwen Verdon, Bob Fosse's muse and his wife and brilliant performer, when she dies 2 weeks after your interview with her, and you know that if you don't archive this, it will just plain disappear. It becomes a burden and a responsibility and a great, great honor. And I have wonderful producers that make it possible. I do this alone, but the only reason I can do it alone is because I have, and I want you to stand up, I have Richard Weigel, one of our producers, who has thrown parties for the film, who has raised money practically door to door to keep me going so I can do the film. Jane Clain, who finds this amazing, rare, stand up, Jane, take a bow. She finds this rare footage or starts the search for me, and she'll say, this is where you look. And she uncovers, she's a hero, I cannot tell you. And Michael Anastasio, our associate producer, who will do, he'll throw parties, he'll call every friend he knows, he'll come and sit at my computer as I show him things to do, and there's nothing he says I can't do, he'll just learn it and do it. I mean, this is grassroots filmmaking. When you see Alec Baldwin sneezing and having these fits, it's because I shoot most of the movie in my small 1-bedroom apartment. I mean, when Alec Baldwin came, he walked in the door with his assistant and he said, I was under the impression we were filming this in a studio. I said, oh, it's not a studio, it's a 1-bedroom. I have a big mirror on one wall, a small 1-bedroom, and I saw in that mirror him look at his assistant who had dealt with me, and I saw him mouth the words, I'm going to kill you. But at the end of his interview, sneezing and crying all the way through, he looked at me and he looked at her and he said, you asked me what a documentary was. This is a documentary. This is important. And you know, I dined out on that for weeks because it keeps, you know, you going. So that's a long answer to a short question.